he was like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a business coach. And the face that he had, he kind of looked at me like, oh, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started talking and he started saying something about rocks and EOS or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's Stephen Covey. And I started like spitting off all these facts,
right.
Not like in a rude way, but I was just like having conversation. And he kind of like took this step back and was kind of like, I mean, forgive me for saying it, was like, oh shit, she knows her stuff. And it was just like,
so some of the questions I like to ask are about your own strengths and weaknesses and things about business for you. I find you to be a very brilliant strategist. When I first met you, you looked really young to me.
yes.
And actually, we should talk about how we first met, but we'll get to that. I feel like you're really, really good at so many things. And the reason I think you're wise is because you will say when you're not good at something, like when you're weaker in an area, and then you find a resource or something. So like, what would you say your strongest area of business is, and what is one of your weaker areas, and how do you compensate for that?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because I've had a little bit of a realization, I'd say in the last like 6 months even, of areas where, there's kind of this idea of what gives you energy versus what takes your energy, right? And so historically, I have been a doer, and I've been more of like the kind of the integrator type of person. And I think I'm starting to realize that it's been because those are the roles that I've been in. Mm-hmm. And so I've been like a list checker and a like get it done. And now that I am running my own practice and I'm starting to have people around me that can kind of fill those gaps, I'm actually starting to realize that drains me more than I realized. And so, and we'll talk about this later, but I worked with my father a lot. My father's a big picture, like really big picture visionary person. And so I kind of had to be the implementer. I had to, because we worked together and someone had to fill that role. And so I think I can be really systemized and structured. I've kind of taught myself to be, but now that I'm in this role where I can kind of allow myself to be more of who I am way more of an idea person than I think I originally realized. And when I am able to choose, like, do I want to work on this or do I want to work on that? I would much rather come up with ideas and just kind of maybe like set the basic structure of the idea and then hand it off.
Same. Yeah. That's like what I live for.
Yeah. And so I'm just realizing that like I can come up with these ideas and kind of basic structure of it. I've been told many times that I'm really, really good at taking really complex ideas and explaining them very simply.
Yes, you are. You're very good at that, because I never feel stupid when I'm talking to you about business. It's not that you dumb it down. You just really are good at explaining it to us in a way that we understand and also feel like validated. Like, it's not like we should have known it somehow.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so I think that I'm starting to really be able to lean into those things, which is really exciting when you get to have the freedom to do those things that you really love, that give you energy. As a business owner, there's still things you have to do that take your energy every day. But the more you can lean into those things that give you energy, I think is really important. So it's been nice to be able to do that. And so the thing I think I'm weakest at is I definitely, and I know that this is probably something we're going to talk about it, but I definitely get like imposter syndrome really bad, especially being younger. I also look younger than I am. So it's like, It's like imposter syndrome on top of imposter syndrome.
Right.
I'm in the business coaching world, which, as a lot of you may realize, it's mostly old white men in coaching world.
And a lot of vibrato and overconfidence.
Yes, it really is. And a lot of ego. And I am the exact opposite of that. And in fact, ego drives me insane. I cannot handle it. And so it's really hard to be in that world. And a lot of times I had a specific situation. I was at like a networking thing with a bunch of large businesses, actually. And I was very blessed to be in the room, honestly. And I was talking to some guy, we were like getting food, and he was like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a business coach. And the face that he had, he kind of looked at me like, oh, okay, whatever. And then we started talking and he started saying something about rocks and EOS or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's Stephen Covey. And I started like spitting off all these facts, not like in a rude way, but I was just like having conversation. And he kind of like took this step back and was kind of like, I mean, forgive me for saying it, was like, oh shit, she knows her stuff. And it was just like, honestly, that moment made me so happy because
validation.
It was such validation.
Yeah.
But it, unfortunately, it takes me saying something or like validating that I actually know what I'm talking about to get people to actually take me seriously
in those rooms. Because I think something that we've talked about a lot and that I've struggled with personally is being in the wrong room for so long.
Yes.
It makes you feel like I have felt like I am the problem. There's something wrong with me, obviously, that I'm not being visible. And if I just got more confident, if I became a different human essentially than what I am, and it's not confidence, it's like overconfidence, and just became like a salesperson essentially, then I would be successful in this. And again, energy, like I believe in energy big time. That drains my energy. To have to pretend to be something that I'm not is so draining. When I'm in the right room with the right people, I don't have to do any of that stuff. They see me, they understand me. Like that's how we found each other as well. Like, so that's the part that's hard is, how do you have to change who you are in those types of rooms to become visible? Do you have to prove yourself, or do you go to a different room? Listen, Misfit, if you believe in the mission of this podcast, I need you to like and subscribe right now. Pause this, go find the podcast. You might already be there, which is easy. Just go like and subscribe. And if you really, really believe in it and you want Misfits to unite and change the whole business world, please rate it. Rating is the best way to get the word out to attract more like-minded misfits like you and me so that we can overthrow the takers of this world who currently dominate the business universe. Now, I know I sound like I'm some courageous lady of business. I am not. I can't do this alone and I don't want to. I need you, and we need a coalition of fellow misfits. So do it now. The quicker we take action, the quicker we can change our business world. Now let's go do great things, and I will see you next week. I'm a misfit. I'm a misfit. I'm a misfit. I'm a misfit. I'm a misfit.